Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 100. I just checked the number and I already forgot. 165. This is the Independent Musician's Guide to Production and Promotion. And this week we're going to be talking. Well, there's an interesting bit about hardware getting a sort of name your price. And Curtis wants to kind of move that over to also talking about uh, naming price or how we should price our albums, which is an interesting thought. We discussed that Bandcamp changed their recommendations on pricing a couple months ago. So we're going to talk all of that. We'd love to hear from you how you price your albums. Do you think about that type of stuff, or do you just go with whatever you think is standard, or do you just do name your price? All are good things. We're going to talk all about that. And then in the round robin, I had it. Sorry, it's been a rough morning. Yes, I love this. You're allowed to evolve. So talking about where we go with our sound. Do we change sound as we go? A lot of times, we develop as artists, and so we're not going to stay in the same spot. So we're going to talk all of that. My name is Sunwarper. I almost said my name is Curtis. That's how much of a weird day it's been. And with me today is Curtis. See, my brain's thinking to the next sentence, and I'm still on the previous sentence.
Oh, mate, it sounds. I mean, literally, we usually get at least 15 minutes with each other in the green room to at least acclimatize before going live. But today is literally we got on, and here we are. And it sounds. I haven't even asked you how you are. How are you? Are you all right?
I'm living, man.
Man, yeah, rough morning. What you been up to?
Let's see. Got to the gym in the morning. I've been waking up a little early so I can go before my son wakes up. So I walk to the gym and walk home. So I get my cardio, get the workout in, and then I take my son, if it's daycare day, to daycare, and then if not, we just go do like adventures and stuff like that. But on daycare days is when I work. So yeah, I've been working on the album. Every Saturday is album day now, and then some filming and stuff. But it's been really fun. I'm like not filming the album process, right? I want to just have the album be like something that's away from all of my like YouTube, social media, like all that. Like it's just doing it, and like I'm not worried about what genre I make, like anything like that. It's just for fun, adding vocals. It's just a totally different process. So it's been really cool doing that. And I want to say hello to, really quickly, then I want to hear how you're doing, but say hello to one of our patrons, Thomas, because Thomas made it. We were late today and he made it. Look at that. What's going on? We've also got Cresshead in the chat. What's up, Cresshead? They say your subject is just what I need. I have album due to get done in the next few weeks. SoundCloud, CD, and tape, I think. Interesting.
Nice.
All right. Well, unless there's something you want to say, what are you up to?
Well, I do want to say I was very happy to hear that you've been managing to carve out time for yourself on a Saturday, and that this album that you've been talking about for a while is coming through. As your mate, I feel that's great. Hey, it rhymes, therefore it's true.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. It's good that you're doing that.
Well, you finishing your album and sending me the masters, I was like, yeah, I can't keep procrastinating. Like, it's not like I'm procrastinating, like purposefully, right? But I have this idea and it just keeps getting pushed back. And then there's a lot going on that's really inspiring the subject that I want to write about, like the theme and the idea. Like a lot's going on with that, and I'm like, I got to do it while it's in the moment, so that the vocals and the lyrics, I should say, make the most sense, like when I'm writing them and all that. So yeah.
Oh, completely. Yeah. I mean, you've got to carve that time for yourself, as well as like, you're a new husband, new dad. There's a whole thing going on in your life. You still got to be able to carve out that time for yourself. Just
yeah,
as a human being.
It's tough, but I think it's important that everybody gets, a little time for themselves. Completely. Pursue their passion, hobbies, whatever, just for their sanity, if nothing else,
Totally. You've got to have a passion project.
Yeah. So what have you been up to?
Well, as you know, I just sent you the masters for the next album, so that's done finally. And therefore I've been allowing myself to. I've been cleaning, mainly recabling and moving things around, because within about halfway through the process of writing the album, I realized that things need to change and things need to go. In order to do that, I have to finish the album before I do that, right? Because the way I write the album is I have like the band, so to speak, and that's kind of fixed. That's the limitation in that regard. And I wasn't done telling the story, and this story is long. Like I think there's There's 15, 14 tracks on the album. It's a long album.
Oh, I like that. Are they your long songs or your short songs or a mix of both?
I think my shortest one is 3 minutes.
Let's go. What's your longest one? That's what I'm more interested in.
I think my longest one is 10.5 minutes.
Oh, that's a short one for you. That's a vignette.
Yeah. I'm trying. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to not be unnecessarily long. Again, taking massive influence from FCC. This notion of trying to be a bit more ruthless and trying to be a bit more kind of, does it need to be that long? I was really proud of it. You'll be proud of me. I'm proud of me.
I'm always proud of you, man.
Thank you, bro. I had a song that was 9 minutes, and then I was listening to it. I was like, it's 6 minutes. That's probably enough. So I actually
nice.
chopped off the last 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Wow, that's crazy. That's a little excessive length, man. If you could take off 3 minutes, that's crazy.
I was like, yeah. So because that's how it works, right? So that's what I tend to do. I kind of tend to loop things, and after a while, you get stuck in the loop. So it feels good to do it. So I've been cleaning, I've been tidying, I've been dusting, I've been rewiring. I managed to get my hands on the Pro 800 a couple of weeks ago, so I've been kind of fiddling around with that.
Ooh, nice.
And just playing, and not, again, in the same way that I've not been saving any of the projects that I've been making recently. I've just been sound designing and playing and trying to get out of that kind of, it's got to be something, and it's got to be a song and all that stuff, and
just be.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm trying to do that as best I can, essentially.
That's good. I forgot to add too, talking about different workflows and stuff like that. I've been messing with the stem split, the enhanced, in quotes, stem splitter in Logic. Dude, it's pretty cool. The guitar stems are crazy. So I what I did was I recorded like a loop of like guitar. I play guitar, bass, synth, drums, and then piano. And then I stem split to see, because I wanted the piano and the guitar, because those are the two that they claim they now do. And so I stem split it. And I tried to keep the guitar, piano, and synth all in the same octave purposefully, so that it would be a little more like confusing, like really test out what it's going to do, like see if it could do it. Man, the guitar was crazy clean.
That's cool.
Like it was perfect.
I need to see that.
Piano, but I added a bunch of like effects, like lo-fi and stuff. So I'm not sure how much is the effect, because I kind of forgot what the effect version sounded like compared to when I was. So there was something, but the guitar was clean. So man, I know it's really cool for sampling, right? But for mixing, like the more advanced these can get, it makes, like if you're doing Dawless jams, or like you're setting up the little like sample station, whatever you want to call it, like being able to split it into these more individual stems. If you were to ever record those jams that you kind of like just, delete, but let's say as an exercise, you go, I'm going to just record the 2-track and see what happens. If you ever go, oh, that's perfect, but that thing's way too loud, stem split.
See, this is good. I need to.
That's what I did for Through the Quiet Dark, though. But now I really wish we had that other stem split, the enhanced one, because man, it would have been so much better.
Well, everything is growth, right? And
it's totally.
Everything's through, and everything's meant to be as it's meant to be. I shall have a look at this, and I
like the use of shell.
I want to. I've got a copy of Logic on my work computer, and
be careful, man. You might get like hit with lightning or something opening Logic.
We'll see. Maybe a burst into flames.
Your move will smite thee.
It's like, so my laptop, my work laptop right now has got an instance of FL, an instance of Reaper, an instance of Ableton. I feel like I can just throw Logic at it and just confuse it.
Might as well, man.
Let's see what's going on.
You might as well.
Exactly. So we'll see.
Real quick, I want to say hello to Half God, Half Beast. We have the whole non-emoji thing that StreamYard and now Restream do, where it doesn't show up. Also wanted to say, Cresshead says, most of my tracks are 3.5 to 5 minutes. The one is 8. That's cool. Yeah, so it's funny. A lot of my songs lately have just gone down and down to like 2 minutes to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then with this one, since I'm doing more of a verse, chorus, pre-chorus, like all that with lyrics and stuff, they're getting stretched out to 3 or 4. And I'm like, oh man, that's crazy. But that's the ebb and flow, right? Growth as a musician, evolving. We'll talk about it.
Exactly.
Cresset also says, Eon Lake okay? Is he busy today? He is busy today. He is also missed, but we will carry on.
We soldier on.
Yeah.
I tell you what. We'll just put a piece of gear there.
Yeah.
And that could just be Eon.
I'm trying to think what piece of gear most encapsulates Eon Lake that we have, but maybe it's the move. You should get the move. I did want to mention too, watching you change your studio on Instagram, you posted that thing. I still can never get over the fact that to your right, there's a whole room. Because I always think that's a wall. Like, I know you're reaching over there. I always think that's a wall. Or like just, which makes no sense because there's no bed. Like, you sleep under the desk or something. But that's just the way, years of podcasting together and only seeing that one angle. I just think like that's your room.
That's what it is.
There's Eon Lake. Eon Lake is now.
He's there.
He's there.
So Eon Lake, you are missed. We'll put him there. He's just stuck at work today. It's all good. This has been a lot of fun. Been a lot of fun.
I guess the new update, I saw a video from Tetra with some cool stuff that they've added or are adding or something. I don't know. Betas, whatnot.
Yeah, I am still at the stage where I'm kind of integrating it. So yes, there are some things that you can do with it. I'm unfamiliar what they are. We have an Ableton update coming in the next 2 weeks, I believe. And my plan is I think it's before we break for summer. So I'm keeping my eye to the ground, and my aim is to kind of do both when they come out.
Nice. Yeah. I was going to say, I'm sure Mike, when he comes in the chat or if he watches this back, can put 18 million chats with everything they've updated. So don't worry. It'll be there. If you are curious what's been added before we get to it, it'll be there.
So yeah, it's going to be fun. So we've got three episodes left until we go away for summer.
But we'll have recordings. Don't worry. We've got a bunch of stuff that we prepped. We
passed Sunwarper and Curtis, made stuff for future Sunwarper and Curtis. So present Sunwarper and Curtis can have a summer. Or something
soon to be present.
Something like that.
Soon to be present. Exactly. Soon we're not in summer yet. Soon to be.
We'll get there. But yeah, and within those 3 weeks, we do have an artist spotlight with Frequency Control Center, who will be releasing his next LP with us, and that's a lot of fun. We're looking forward to that. You've just finished the masters on that? Is that right?
Very interesting. It's interesting. I mean, we keep coming back to the theme we're talking about today of evolving, but it's very interesting to hear his evolution with how it. He went from the. I know he doesn't like to say it, but like that very Boards of Canada-esque style, which he does really well, and then did that very ambient follow-up, and then now he's back with something that's kind of it goes with where it kind of goes between those two, but goes in other places too. It's very interesting, and the mix was just incredible. He was like, this is the first time you didn't ask for any changes. I was like, it was a really good mix. Like, I just had to enhance it and build it up,
That's what we need. So yeah, keep your ears to the ground for that. We'll be teasing a little bit more as the weeks come out. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be very fun. Yeah. In the here and now, however, should we get on with what we're here to discuss for today?
Yeah, well, I think it's good. We got FCC releasing an album soon. Cresshead has an album coming out soon. So let's talk a little bit about this. Now, before we get to talking about album pricing, as musicians, I think it's interesting as beat makers and producers and all that to take a look at another field, let's say, that's doing something similar to this or testing out these waters. So do you want to give us what was the start of this idea for you?
Yeah, well, the ever faithful Synthtopia comes to the rescue again in the slow news week. Where basically, Teenage Engineering and Music Thing Modular have been running summer sales on their websites, where they are offering this notion of a pick your own pricing, where you can choose how much you want to spend on a particular piece of gear. For example, the OP1 Field, which is not an insignificant piece of gear, usually quite expensive. And they do have a lower limit, but basically that lower limit allows you to take off $600 off the original user price, for example. And Music Thing Modular are doing similar things where you can pay as little as $1,400 for their mini modular kit, essentially, which is again $400 off of the original price. You've brought up my thing so you can see here. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, which is really cool, really interesting. So, this got me thinking, and because we have on Bandcamp, for example, we have Name Your Price, and me and you have discussed this at length in previous iterations or previous incarnations, and it brings up a very interesting idea. This notion of pick your own pricing, judging how much value it's worth. Is the value of something judged by the consumer or by the product maker, for example? I kind of wanted to bring that to the table just so we can kind of talk these things through, because as you said at the beginning, Bandcamp have recently made new. Let me
find that too.
Yeah, made new updated suggestions for how much you should charge for an album to make it cost effective, for example. And yet, there are many indie labels out there like Triplicate, for example, who do a lot of Name Your Price. There are also other labels like, for example, Mindspring, where for a single you might pay above average for what a song might be. Now, this brings it to the table. That's kind of what I want to discuss. Well, how do people price what they put out into the world, why they do that, and what are the best practices in which to do? And most importantly, I think, is there a space for Name Your Price in the modern era? That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, well, that's good, because Cress had put up a really good question that I think we should discuss, but let's get there. But I'm going to read it first, and we'll circle back to it. But is Name Your Price a good idea? Does it add confusion to the users trying to figure out what they should pay? Yeah, that's a very interesting point. So let's first take a look, if I can share it. So I can't find the article where Bandcamp announced they were changing their recommended pricing, but I know in a couple episodes ago I did share it, so you can go back to that if you want to check it out. But they've updated their actual what pricing performs best to reflect their altered pricing. So they're saying most artists will maximize their earnings by charging $9 USD. This is showing, right, for everybody? Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah. Just wanted to double check. For EP-length albums, 6 tracks or fewer, $4 is a sweet spot. But again, there are exceptions, and if you're an established artist who has seen recent success charging $18 for your digital album, go for it. Then they also mention, and this was part of their motive for changing from 7 to 9, is that most consumers, fans buying do pay more than the set price. And that's something I would definitely recommend if you do sell on Bandcamp. Set it so that there's a setting in Bandcamp that says fans can pay more than what you set it for. Because if you don't set that, then they only pay what you set it for. Beyond that, though, the other part of their motive for changing the recommendeds were that I think it was it Billboard or one of the big, the top 100, they only recognize albums that sell for 8 or more now, or something to that effect. So they changed it to 9 instead of 7. So there's that. So I wanted to give a little bit of a preamble before we discuss all that stuff, because it's good to think about. Now, you can also, I think, at least with like CD Baby and possibly DistroKid, set a couple of different price points for like singles. If you set a single, you could say 99 cents, $1.29. They might even do $2 now. I think Bandcamp also changed their single recommendation to $2 or $1.50, up from $1. So there's that. There's all these reasons why you would want to set prices. It used to be $7 for an album, $1 for a single, like $3 to $4 for an EP. Now Bandcamp at least is telling us 9 is a good idea for album, 4 for EP, and $1.50 or $2 for singles. Now, I know a lot of people have different opinions on that. Like when we were discussing it, I think ASAP Stripe was saying that's too much. Times are difficult for a lot of people, which makes a lot of sense. But there's also the other people that donate a huge amount when they buy like $15, $50, as that Bandcamp article said. So I think no matter what you set, I'm just going to say, if you're on Bandcamp, set that thing so that people can pay more if they want to. So is there anything that I missed, Curtis? You didn't freeze. I saw you blink. Okay, he was having internet issues beforehand. So when he's not moving much, I worry a little bit. I saw him like this, and I was like, he's not blinking. Is he frozen?
Yeah, no, I think you covered it massively. Yeah, I think it's great. Cool. Bandcamp
We'll get to
have
name your
it.
price, but I just wanted to lay out that stuff first. Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
opening the
yeah.
blinds. It's really dark in here right now.
No, you're good. It's fun. We've got completely. You've outlaid it wonderfully. We have seen recent suggested prices increase, and it is a continuous discussion about how much you should charge because it is very subjective, right? Like $1.50 for a single could be a lot to some people, and depending on where your market is, and that becomes difficult in that regard because us as independent artists don't really have a full grasp of who our demographic might be, and especially smaller artists, there might not be enough data to decide what your demographic could be, and it's a whole minefield. Now,
Yeah. Let me just to give one clarification too, because there are two different terms as half god, half beast is talking about. They said, I know someone that said people have paid more when they've done name your price on Bandcamp, then clarifies or pay what you want, whatever it's called. There's two different things. So name your price can be pay what you want, meaning you name your price and you set the price point to 0 and anyone can download it for free, or they can pay a cent or whatever the equivalent is in your currency, and they'd get the album. Or you can set a number like I want to sell it for $7, but people can name their price higher than that, similar to what Teenage Engineering and the hardware we're talking about are doing, where it's not name your price free, it's name your price from this set point or higher if you can afford it. So that's the difference. Hopefully that makes sense. Everybody in the chat, let me know if that doesn't make sense and I'll clarify it. But yeah, there's some interesting things with the free name your price. I think the first big one that I remember that did that was, I think it was In Rainbows from Radiohead. They did something with like name your price or something where I think it was free and then you could pay more, something to that effect. There is a thing though, if you set a very low price, it can seem like it's you're dismissing its value, so to speak, or that can be a perceived notion. So that's something we should discuss. Oh, I see. Actually, I think Chris had actually just posted that. That's funny because I was just thinking that. Then boom, there it is. But yeah, there is that kind of thing where, especially if you're a brand new artist, and nobody's heard of you, it can be a perception thing where if you set it at 0, it can be perceived like low confidence in. I hate to say this, but like in your product. So to speak. But on the other hand, if you don't care and you're just setting this is my art, I put it out, makes total sense. Whether someone thinks it's deemed value, like low value because of that or not, doesn't matter. But I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying that that's definitely a perceived notion or can be. So it's something to think about. These are things, this isn't like the really cool glamorous side of discussing music, right? We're not talking hardware, we're talking just like how do you set your price. But I think as you get to we spend so much time making music, right? And then when it comes to putting it out, these are things we either don't think about or think about not enough, but we should think about these things a little bit and how we're going to present ourselves.
Completely. I mean, there is no right or wrong. It's $1.50 for a track is both too much and too little. Right?
Yeah.
If you think about it in the terms of the subjectivity of the consumer, it does fundamentally come down to how you feel about it. Now, I do hear what you're saying when it comes to if you put something down as 0 or name your price, it can come across as dismissive of your own product, so to speak, and that is valid and that is real. I think there is. I feel I could be. I mean, it's a feeling, so but it's this notion of I suppose a label could get away with doing like a name your price on your behalf, for example, right? Because it's the name of building community. They might have a bigger audience, and that could be a way to try before you buy. As an independent artist at the same time, I don't know if it's there so much. At the same time, this is why I'm just going to go in circles here. After last week's show, I flicked onto my Bandcamp and I bought Eon Lake's Deep State 1.
Oh, those are good.
I think. Yeah, and it was Name Your Price, right? And it's a 3-track EP. I paid $3.50 for it. And so there is that notion of, wanting to support the artist. And I suppose that's where the framing comes from.
Yeah.
Are you putting money down because you want to, are you believe in the product or because you believe in the artist. And I want to say on the other side of that, that if I was to put something out for free, I think I would do it to, for example, the patrons here. For example, I don't think I'd put it on my Bandcamp as name your price or for free. I think I would do it to people who are already, supporting the work I do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because they're already supporting the work I do, or we do, right?
I think there's a thing too we can talk about in the sense of, we give a lot of dismissal to Spotify, right? And the low royalty payouts. So we obviously set a value to our music.
Yes.
In that sense. So, I mean, for me personally, and I'm not saying this is the only way to think about it, I put a lot of time and effort into my music. So I set it at something. And if someone wants to go the extra effort to support it, that's awesome. They don't have to by any means, but I mean, I'm going to set a value for it. If you think differently and you think I just want everybody to have it and stuff, that's cool too. But I just think like I'm putting effort into it. And and like Cresshead is saying, they can listen on YouTube. That's free. Totally. And then there's also Spotify where you can stream it for like 0.0000001 cent. So, there's levels to it, but I think there's value in what we do, and I think it's good to set that and have that sort of self-worth. But on the other hand, I think it totally makes sense if you feel differently. That's fine. Like, I already said in Radiohead, I'm pretty sure it was free. I can double check it, but I remember there was this big thing. That's like from what I remember, started the kind of whole name your price thing. And then Cloud Kicker, who does like really technical metal music, has always put his music up, name your price, and like Creative Commons. So much so to the fact that a random record label just started selling CDs of his unbeknownst to him because it was set to Creative Commons. And then I think they worked out a deal for him to get, but they weren't originally, like, from what I remember, and I may be misremembering, but I remember there was something with that where they just started like selling CDs. It was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, I love his music, and he set it to name your price, and then it did so well in sales, even though it was set to $0, people were buying it, that he was selling vinyl, like on his own CDs. He did a whole tour with some band, like the band was his backing band, and they're a bigger band or whatever too, and they did this whole tour and all that. So it's like there's no wrong way and there's no right way, just whatever you think is right for your work, that's what you should do. But it is interesting to see, one, the recommended pricings from Bandcamp have gone up. I think it was 7 since as long as I can remember for an album. Now it's 9, so that is very interesting. Chris said don't get started with that U2 album. That was pre-installed. Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, I'd be curious to hear if you release music, if you are planning to release music, where are you at on it? Do you name your price? Do you set it to a low price? Do you set it to the recommended in Bandcamp? I know there's some labels that put albums out at like $1 and stuff like that. Then there's the other notion too, if you're putting out physical, that is where you can set prices, and you can set your digital to name your price or a lower price. Like, there's tons of options. I hate to just be like, there's no right answer, but it really is where you want to go with it. We just want to present kind of the different options and how they work.
I think you're completely right. I think that, there's nothing wrong with saying there's no right or wrong answer. I will say at the same time, if you wanted to put your music out for free, or if you didn't think the music was worth anything, or yada yada yada, there's plenty of ways to do it. Like you say, like Chris Head says, there's YouTube for that kind of thing, and people download MP3s from YouTube all the time. Yeah. You're obviously going to Bandcamp with this kind of idea of wanting to at least explore the notions of marketing your music in some way, and the limitations there. The only limitations there are the same limitations that you put upon yourself during life, be they conscious or unconscious. Now, I'd never thought, for example, that when we started Audionautic, that there would be people in the world who'd be willing to give us money on a consistent basis enough to run this on a weekly basis and come together on a weekly basis. Never thought that was possible. And I thought it was pie in the sky. When we started this, it was a bit of fun. Two of us just hanging out, making some ideas and, seeing what was what. And now we have this ecosystem that comes in, and that is down to our patrons. And this is kind of like a community corner. But the notion of you don't know what other people think you're worth in that sense. And the value you're bringing to people is often unspoken and unconscious. So if Bandcamp are recommending $9 for an album, that is a nice kind of consistent average in that sense. You are your value, right? And your value is something that you decide. And there's something worth and something's nice and special about just seeing what's what and being bold and being brave and going, I've got a 6-track EP. I'll throw it out for $4 and see what's up,
Yeah.
The worst thing that happens is that you stay obscure and no one gets your music.
But it's like you're surprised, or at least it's awesome when someone then says, I want to support you here, like I'm going to buy this. It's really cool. It's an awesome thing. Yeah. I mean, I would say if you're considering prices and stuff, like me personally, I think it's worth setting a value to your music. So that's my personal stance. But again, it's not wrong to set it to name your price. And for a little while I did, but really that was because of imposter syndrome, where I didn't think it was like, I didn't know. I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to set a value, and I've changed my tune. So, but on the other hand too, like I put out weekly videos on YouTube with beats that you can just check out. Right. So it's like, I now think of these albums and things like that as refined versions that I want to present as something of value. Like, not that my YouTube videos aren't of value, obviously, but like that I've spent a lot of time on, not just an hour filming and editing and all. It's like I've taken that and I've done even more. And I think I've presented this story and this cohesive narrative that is there if you want to support it, like taking it to the next step.
Yeah. And I think that there's something more personal about the journey in that sense.
Yeah.
It is, it's important to consider yourself having value as well. And I'd echo what you're saying. I think I like the notion of putting something out, selling an album, and then maybe after a couple of years, drop it down, and then maybe stick it, name your price, and then
there's even the codes.
Exactly.
Codes.
Well, that's the point. That's when you can go out into the world at that point and say, hey, my first album, Astrolab, like, and now you can. I think it's $1 right now for my first ever stuff, and I routinely just go into Discord and just throw codes out for people, and that then is that try before you buy. That's the exposure on that stuff, and that's Astrolab was 4-5 years ago at this point. Now it's
totally different, Curtis.
Been and done.
Was that in Vietnam?
It would have been, yeah.
Or was that pre?
No, it would have been. It would have been. I think, yeah, because it was Bag Job, and I wrote that after watching a documentary in my flat in Vietnam. So yeah, it would be.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah,
that's a very different Curtis.
It's a different Curtis. I feel, without getting into it now, I feel like we're about to. If that was a flow away, I feel like we're about to ebb. But we'll see.
I love it. All right. Well, Cresset says, what is that? Is that pounds? 664 is $9. Yeah.
British pounds.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's which that's another thing too. I don't typically like setting random cents. Like I like to just have it be flat. Like there's that very weird thing, that the marketing thing where you see things for like $7.99 and it's supposed to be psychologically, well, it's cheaper than $8, so I hate that. So I always set a flat thing, but I've seen where it's like $7.99, $7.49, this or that. I mean, it's fine. I just like to put a nice even number. So I know that kind of changes depending on currency and stuff, but yeah, it's like I would set 6 or 7 instead of 664, me personally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'd like to know what you guys think. We are, after all, just two dudes with some microphones. We'd love to know what you think. If you're watching back or you're listening on Spotify, let us know how much you're charging for your albums. The world is in a funny space financially, collectively, and but nonetheless, artists continue to need to make a living. So we'd be really curious to know where you're coming from. There is a finger up.
I just want to add one thing, because I see what Cresset's saying about low number of CD is around pounds, right?
£6, yeah.
Yeah, £6 per CD, excluding packaging, shipping, zero profit. We are not talking physical prices.
We're just
Physical
talking
prices
digital
are very different. We're speaking strictly digital. For physical, it used to be 10 for CDs. I would assume it's probably up now. I still do 10 because if you can do on demand manufacturing instead of like the low number production. I don't like doing low number production. Then you have a bunch of CDs in a box. Uh, on demand is a really good way to go. We use Kunaki, but I got to check if they're doing international again yet, but they stopped doing international. But there's also Elastic Stage we've talked about. There's other ones as well, but it's worth looking into on demand, meaning you make one when someone orders it and they ship it, or you can ship it to yourself but then there's extra shipping costs. But like, I think making a CD through Kunaki is like $1.20 or something, then shipping, or $1.40, $2, something like that, and then the shipping cost. But on Bandcamp, you set shipping and album price, like physical album price. So you can say $10 physical, $6 for shipping, or international is 20 or whatever because it's so crazy now. So yeah, we're speaking. I probably should have said that at the start, but we're saying it now.
Yeah,
That's the $9 and stuff like that is for digital, and we'll take a look again soon at physicals and stuff and all that, because we need to reassess where the market's at currently with all the changes that happened. International shipping, even before all this stuff, was getting pretty expensive, so it's worth looking into. We'll take a re-look into it maybe in like when we're back from our pre-recorded break, maybe August or September. But yeah, definitely different pricing and all that stuff. And I would not recommend name your price. I think you could, but I wouldn't recommend name your price for physical if you're putting out money for it. If you're making it, and then whatever. But yeah,
it's definitely, again, it's this year, the end of last year, this year in particular has been, for whatever reason, God knows why, it's been quite chaotic. It's been anarchic and it's been unprecedented. So
yeah,
we'll revisit it after our pre-recorded July.
Self-imposed pre-recorded
self-imposed vacation. We'll come back. For now, though, in the present moment, you might be seeing some lovely flashing stars behind us, and you might be seeing comments and pictures and even other things, which we'll get to in a sec, pop up as a result. And that is down to our patrons.
Get ready for that QR code.
Look at that. It's up there on the side. Or I could even do this and bring
it's not audio like this time. No.
Exactly.
You do that. There it is.
Perfect. Yeah. So
I'm
here,
actually going to turn the air conditioner on real quick. So just go ahead and talk.
This is a lovely platform, and we are here thanks to our patrons. The money that they give us every week gives us the ability to be here and allows us to create content and gives us a reason every Wednesday to sit down and be here together. If you like what we're doing, and you want us to grow and you want us to continue having these discussions, please consider becoming a patron. It's over there for as little as $2 per month, and we'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, it allows us to keep the lights on. This, restream is an overhead. We have continuous overheads. We also run the label, which costs us money, and we enjoy doing it, and it's great, and we do it anyway. But your support is always valued in that regard. We have Coraline sitting in the green room ready to come in for the round robin. And that is one of the benefits of becoming a patron, is stuff like coming onto the show, talking with us directly. We have our own patron chat in Discord, for example, which if you fancy being part of the Discord community, as
Can
well
you
as
get
going
that shiny thing where it goes around it.
I don't know about that one. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it'll come up.
It did a little sheen, so we'll let it slide.
Leave it there for now.
You got off easy this time, Curtis.
Exactly. Thank you for that.
There it is. It just happened.
There we go.
So maybe it's just a time.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, we have a burgeoning, growing community there, and where we talk about all this stuff with like-minded people who know what we're talking about and can seek help from each other, and it's a really nice community. So, the Discord is a great place in which to start that, but also becoming a patron is really good because, for example, we have our Starstream hangouts, which happen on a monthly basis. This one coming up is on the 22nd of June, which is 11 days from now. A very nice witchy number. Today is the 11th. 11 days, it'll be 22. Come on, stars are aligning.
Yep. All right.
So,
sure.
We'll get there. So it's cool. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that. What else is good about Patreon, Sunwarper?
Well, I think you've covered everything. The meats, you get to help support the show. If you don't want to do a monthly recurring fee or anything like that, you can also do a one-time payment. We are uh, taking donations because we're working on getting away from that manufacturing for CDs, the low number production that Creshead was talking about, but also these crazy on-demand things where they charge excessive amounts for international shipping. So we're working as Project Homebrew. So if you do want to help support our label and all of that stuff, you can check that out. I think that was the QR code, right, Curtis, that you had up there? Yeah, perfect. But yes, members at the $5 tier can come on the show. So if you have a lot of opinions about the stuff we talk about, or disagree or agree with a lot of what we say and actually want to say that with us, then you can come on the show as is that Patron Plus?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the tier. Coraline, one of our patrons, is in the green room, and I just lost the screen. But Coraline, can you give me a thumbs up if you're good to come on? Yep, we're good. Okay, let Coraline in. What's up? How are you? Oh, I think you're muted. Just double check. No? Hold on.
Okay.
We have volume on our side for you.
Okay.
Well, in the interim, while we sort that out, now we got you.
Oh, okay. I just had to select the microphone again. Weird.
There we go.
I said I'm doing okay. I'm having a studio day today.
That's good. I was going to say I'm not seeing all the floral background you've got. Is that your is electric violin? Is that what it's called, or e-violin?
Electric violin over there. It's
cool.
The Yamaha Silent. Yeah.
Nice.
And I just got this mixer / audio interface for live performing.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. Which one is it?
It's what is it? Studio Live AR8C by PreSonus.
Cool.
Oh, is it 2-track or is it everything's multi-tracked?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh no, it's output is just two.
It's a stereo 2-track.
It's just stereo 2-track, but you have when you are recording with your DAW, you have access to all 8 inputs. Oh,
with like a USB or something.
Yeah, with USB-C.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That's really cool.
So it works both as a DAW, both as an audio interface and also as a live mixer, which is what I need because my laptop is part of my performance. So.
I gotta tell you, I love multi-track audio over USB. It's like my favorite thing in the world, and I just every time I have gear that doesn't have it, I make sure to mention it in any review I'm doing or anything. Like, please add multi-track audio over USB. It makes such a difference.
It really does.
Yeah. All right. Well, Curtis, what are we talking about in the round robin? And Coraline, it's great to see you. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks for letting me be here.
Of course. So the tag for this one I thought was this notion of you are allowed to evolve. And this is more of a collective meditation. I was speaking to some of the kids today or a couple of days ago, sorry, and they've got they've got their sound. We spend a lot of time as producers trying to make our sound and come up with something that's identifiable and that kind of thing. And a lot of people get attached to that notion, get attached to the identity surrounding their brand, however you want to call it. And I just wanted to kind of bring up this notion of it's okay to grow and it's okay to kind of move beyond the boxes that you have for good reason. I might add, good reason to put yourself in these boxes as you kind of develop and grow. But, it's good to find ways to step out of that box in that sense and step out that pigeonhole. So I wanted to just bring it to the table and have a discussion about, what box we might have put ourselves in and how we've managed to get ourselves out of it and what we have found as a result of stepping out of that box. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Where do you want to start?
Well, I want to start by saying, we're 3 people on live. There are people watching back and there are people in the chat, please. We'd love to know where you are with this and where you have found to grow out of your pigeonholes in that sense. But yeah, I'd like to start with Coraline, if I could be so bold.
Sure.
You had some great things to say in the Discord yesterday, and I'm sure you've got more to say now.
So what I tend to do is name my projects or name my sounds. So around a project. So I just finished a 5-year project called Sudra's Violin. And it was 5 albums over 5 years, and it had a consistent sound. It had a consistent lineup of instrumentation because I wanted it to sound like a band coming together to make this music. And I feel like I could have kept making Sudder's violin albums, but I kind of said everything I wanted to say with that sound. So it's time to come up with a new named project for a new kind of sound to explore. And I'm in the process of figuring out what that is.
Okay, so you're at the beginning of this kind of like early kind of opportunistic kind of where is this going to go, and the sky's the limit in that sense.
I'm making random stuff and seeing what feels right. I'm not paying any attention to genre. I'm trying to like break free of some habits and just like give myself permission to just play, and everything goes in a junk drawer. You know, it's fine.
What habits are you trying to break? Out of curiosity.
Some of the composition techniques that I use, where there's, for example, an ostinato played by the bass or played by the piano. It's just like a repeating figure through the entire song. I tended to do quite a bit of that, and some of the broken sense sounds that I was using with Sudder's violin, I need to step away from because they were getting a little, I don't know, felt a little cliched because I'd done them before so much. So looking for new sounds, looking for new ways of putting them together, rolling the dice and seeing what comes up.
Rolling the dice is a great way of putting it in that sense. With absolutely no qualms or kind of like preconceived ideas of what your sound is going to be. So there's no like hardware involved. It's all just kind of going as you feel in the moment.
There's physical hardware involved. I'm still playing on instruments, but there's no intention behind it, and there's no goal. And I'm not making things to release. I'm making things to just kind of explore and see how they feel.
That's wonderful. Do you find that if you're stepping away from this, how is it to say goodbye? Not goodbye, but how is it to tip your proverbial hat to the previous project and move on? It
was really hard.
Okay. So
it was really hard because I had grown attached to it, and although I had this kind of sound in mind from the start, I finally got it right. And that's how I knew that it was time to put it aside, because I'm probably not going to be able to do anything better with this combination of elements than what I just did. So I'll let that be the end. But it was bittersweet, and I put off releasing that album for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, because I couldn't say bye to it until. Is that weird?
You knew it was the end of it?
I knew it was the end of the project. Yeah. I didn't want to say. It's like reading a book and you're like slowing down because you don't want to get to the last page.
I get that.
Look at that. I mean, it's definitely, it makes absolute sense that we get attached to the sounds that we make and the projects that we make in that regard, because they are at the moment they are kind of the rawest of our vulnerability, right, and the expression of our soul. So it makes absolute sense to say goodbye. There's a trepidation in that regard, right? Because you're stepping into something new consciously, and with that is coming with intention, but you just don't know what's going to come from it, right? In that regard. Correct. And the notions of stepping into that, I can understand why that'd be incredibly scary. It makes total sense.
Yeah. Part of that is I'm listening to a lot of different music as well to try and pick up some different inspirations than the post-punk that I spent my entire life playing. So
I get that. I completely understand that. It's a process, right? And it's not one of those things that you can rush in that regard.
Correct. I just take my time. I put out an album this year, and I try to do an album a year. So I already put out an album this year, so the pressure's off. I can play for the next 6 months.
Cool.
There you go.
Hopefully it doesn't take that long
though. Enjoy the process, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for sharing, Coraline. Really appreciate that. I've just noticed that before we got across to Sunwarper, Survey Channel's just hit another fellow patron, long-time listener. Hello, Survey. It's nice to have you here. The remastered album is absolutely amazing. So I'll go check it out. He sent me a code 2 weeks ago. It's just been so busy. But it's cool. It's very, very cool indeed. Sunwarper, how are you at? Where are you sitting with this? And what comes to your mind when you think about evolving your sound and evolving your place?
There's so many places to discuss, right? Like there's so much to think about there. I think the biggest thing is that I've always wanted to explore different genres, like, but always under the one banner, right? Like always under Sunwarper. And like I do ambient stuff and synthwave and like, you know, loosely genre based. I'm not like making it because I want to make synthwave or whatever, but I just like to explore all kinds of different stuff. One thing I like to do now, though, is since a lot of my time goes into YouTube videos where I do try to be cognizant of like, well, I want to stick to a certain sort of sound for that. Obviously, like we discussed, which we'll get into more for the album, I'm not doing that, but like I want to present a pretty cohesive kind of like basis because it's more educational, but I happen to be making music. But what I've done is I've tried to incorporate, like if I want to make ambient stuff, then what I'll do is I need to put that in a sort of beat format. So the sound design will be ambient. Like I'll use pulse stretch and get some crazy sound, and then I'll chop a bit of that and use that as the main sample. And then in chromatic mode, I can go across different notes. And so it's like this ambient sound design that then goes into beat making. And so it was kind of a streamlined process. But then what I also want to think about is not worrying about being beholden to algorithms, being beholden to expectations, genre, any of that. So I have it where, yeah, if I'm making an album, I'm making an album, kind of like the Curtis way with like, I'm making something that's a piece of art, and whatever it's going to be, it's going to be like, not thinking like, oh, do I have a little lo-fi track for, you know, this, and do I have that? It's like, I'm just going to do whatever speaks to me and how it presents itself. And yeah, so I think it was first really expansive. I've tried to do like, I wanted to do everything I enjoyed. I wanted to just put it under one name, and then I streamlined it. And now it's like two kind of different courses, but everything still falls. I still kind of opposite to you, Coraline. I still like having everything under one name, even if it's, and I remember we discussed this on Discord. You were, I think as you were contemplating ending the project, if I'm remembering right, you were asking about where you feel it's worth a new name or keeping the same name. And I don't think you're wrong for changing it. But for me personally, I was always like, well, whatever I make is me. So I just want to present it as that. And I've had different project names, but I've like was never happy with each one. And they were always one sort of thing. And so when I landed on this one, I was like, well, whatever I make is just going to be that, you know, for better or worse. But I kind of like the idea that I'm just presenting this name as me as an artist, and it's like, that's what it is. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because you are, like you say, like it's an exploration, right? And people are coming down for the ride, and you know, you might be making, you know, IDM in one notion, but then you might naturally gravitate towards more of a synthwave sound, and you know, we as the consumers on the other side or the listeners on the other side are, you know, we're subject to those meanders, but we don't control those meanders, right? And it is really important to not be beholden to the algorithms, which is such a difficult way, especially if you're trying to make a living out of your work. You know,
that's why you have to kind of juggle it, right? Like what I was saying, the YouTube is like, okay, I'm going to stick with this kind of beat format, but when I want my explorations in there, it's put that into that format, right? Like, okay, I want to do ambient. Well, I'll make an hour of ambient sound design and loops, and then that goes into, you know, layering it. But then when I'm in album mode, it's like whatever I feel like making. Sure, you know, do ambient. Do I want to just sing a bunch of like choral effects on top? I'm gonna do that, you know, like whatever. So yeah,
that's interesting. Is that a mindset intention going forward for you? So for example, like you've been saying that, you know, you've been carving out time for yourself on a Saturday. Have you gone to your studio on that Saturday and gone, okay, today I'm going to write something and it's going to end up on the album? Or are you going with, you've carved out this time, and if it happens to be an album piece, it happens to be an album piece, but if it's say an algorithmic piece, it's an algorithmic piece. How is that
question,
working?
isn't it? And no, what I do is I'm going in there with, every time I'm in the studio now, there's a point to it, right? Like on Wednesdays after this, it's filming days for YouTube. So there's a point to what I have structure of like, I'm going to make these videos like this type and I know like, okay, if it's a beat making video, then I'm just going to make whatever comes to mind or just sample flip, whatever. But on Saturdays, it's go in with the intent that this could be an album song, but I'm just going to do whatever. Like if I feel like just turning on The Prophet, which hasn't been on in like a year, and just jamming, if something flows and I go, oh, I like that in this narrative of the story I'm making for the album, let's work that in. Let's figure out, does that work as a song with vocals? And then, or no, it's just an interlude, or it's this. That's what I'm doing on Saturdays. Like I said, I want to be completely detached from the idea of like, I need a good angle, I need to film this right, I want to make a song that, like fits what I do for you. It's like just completely free of any of that. So
it's good. It's a good way to bridge, and it sounds like a great way to kind of bridge that divide and keep the divide there and remain true to your own journey in that regard, but also allow yourself space to move beyond those habits, to borrow Coraline's phrase, break those habits and try something different, try something new.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like I just want to go in and have fun, which like everything I get to do is fun, right? But there's always like some pressure of like, I'm filming this, I have that, record thing. But here it's just like, I'm just gonna just jam. Like I'll just record, do the Eon Lake and just turn on the recording, the DAW, set it to record and treat it like a tape, right? And I'm just gonna record everything I do. So I'll just start playing drums and then I'll find a little something and be like, oh, that's a cool loop. And then it just, just that natural flow state, and whatever happens. And if I think it fits the idea I have for the album, awesome. But if I don't, it's just like, well, I'll put that in the save for later folder, like we'll look at that and when I'm on my next project or when I need a single or something, or even a remix, if like maybe that loop could fit a remix or something. So yeah,
it's good. Going in and breaking with the previous mindsets is definitely coming forward. And it's, again, I come back to, like I said at the beginning of this show, the idea that you are now carving that space for yourself and making something that is truly yours. None of us are going to see it until it's finished. That's
what's special, because I feel like for the longest time, even when I make albums, right, I'm always thinking like, can I film something from that to promote it? And I'm not thinking that at all. Like I don't care. Like I want this to be complete. I of course, I would like it to do well and all that, but I need time for myself, right, where I'm just artistically creating, and I don't want to have that barrier of like, did I get that shot? Oh, the camera wasn't record. It's like, just get rid of all those things, because I already have enough of that in most days. So it's like, I just want some time to create.
I get that. It's good because I haven't seen you do it in years in that regard.
Yeah,
so it's good to see that flow come back.
Yeah. Well, what about you? Where are you at?
Yeah, it's a good question. That's kind of why I brought this to the table. I think mine comes down to a bit more narratively in that sense, as opposed to kind of like musically. As I say, as you know, I'm at the end of just finishing this album, which is a very particular sound, a very particular directive, very particular kind of notion to it. And now its name is, okay, what do I do now? There's a lot less guitar on this, for example, and than I've done previous albums. So I want to explore that. But I think that I've always had this story, right? It's like Curtis is a character, there's a whole universe, and through the songs we're exploring different aspects of these universe, and it's very much a narrative which I'm telling a story, and I have always stuck to that, and I've always kept to that, and it's always kind of created this limitation within it, and it has become a bit of a limitation in that regard, or at least it was. I went through a breakup a while ago, and I ended up writing an EP to kind of process it. And it was the first time I'd have really ever done that. I actually put something down which was about my life as opposed to a projection of my life into this otherworldly realm. And I still haven't released it. And I will get around to it at some point. But what it did is it opened the door to this notion of, you don't have to always give the story, right? Like we've discussed this on a couple of occasions, like
side quest, man.
Yeah, side quest, exactly. And I'm like, I know, like there's this way of operating, there's this way of doing that where I've got the big rig, right? I've got the big rig, and the big rig is nice. It's a cool little space to be, but it's a workflow that I'm comfortable with. But because I'm comfortable with it, it's becoming formulaic. So, the big rig has since now become a modular rig in the sense that it can be broken down into different parts and different ideas. And I've always gone from the big rig backwards, right? So like it's always come from massive jams and big ideas where you're just looping stuff, and then down and finessing with singular parts and then adding tracks later on, right? I want to come from a space of the other way, starting with, say, the move and the SP, building that, and then bouncing that out and inserting those things in, flipping my workflow in that sense. And I think in the flipping of the workflow, while also being more attuned to not having to hide behind an operatic mask, then, or theatrical mask. I think there's definitely levels of my vulnerability which I'm yet to explore. So I think that's kind of where I need to go.
I totally get that. I was going to ask, do you feel like that's partly why you haven't released that EP too? Because I know like vocals, the reason I want to do vocals is because I hate the vulnerability of like creating lyrics, right? It's the most connected, like, and sharing of, even if the lyrics are more existential or whatever have you, but still you're like, it's a direct human connection or something. So for some reason, for me, there's like more of a barrier in that, and the most vulnerable because it's like, it's your voice. It's not an instrument, right? Like playing a guitar or something. It's like you. So it's different. So I'm curious, like writing a story or writing music that's expressing what's going on in your life. Is that like little, because it's more vulnerable, is there some hold up? I don't know, not hold up, but you know what I mean? Like something keeping it there.
I think so. I think there's definitely an aspect to that. Yeah, I think there's definitely an aspect to that. So I think there's something from there that I need to kind of keep looking at and examining and wondering why. So there's a lot of questions to be done there. So that's kind of where I'm at in that regard.
Soul searching.
Soul searching. Yeah, exactly. Every time you think you've peeled back a layer of the onion, there's another layer, I suppose, in that sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, the chat has been alive while we've been talking. We see that Thomas is looking to do some vinyl going on there.
As is Cresthead. Yeah, vinyl. And Cresthead says, me too.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
It's definitely like mastering for vinyl is a different beast than mastering normally.
Yeah, mastering for vinyl is fun though. I like doing it.
What is it you like about it?
I don't know. It's just a little bit of a different format. You kind of just think a little differently. You're not trying to make it like, oh, I want to brick wall this. I want the bass really emphasized. I want the high end emphasized. You want to do basically the opposite of all of that. And it's the love of dynamics. Like, that's the key. So yeah, it's fun. Let's see what else we got. Oh yeah, this is good from Cresthead. Being personal in your songs is quite a thing to create. You put it out there, so to speak. And yeah, it's the most direct connection to the listener. You can hear the tone of delivery. If people really mean what they say, sing. Yeah. Well, Coraline, anything you want to add to any of this?
No, it's been amazing. I always love, like, the thing I love best about Audionautics is, and the Discord and everything like that, is getting to see what people's processes are like. So that's really fascinating, both the two of y'all and also the folks in chat, and kind of what's interesting to people and the habits we're trying to break, the habits we're trying to form, and the habits we're trying to break. And Curtis, it sounds like you're on maybe a similar journey to me once you get this album out the door, if you're considering doing more personal things as an avenue of exploration.
I think so. I think there's I'm good at masking, so I think it's time to examine where that's coming from and dig even deeper in that.
Take off the mask.
Exactly. It can even happen accidentally sometimes. You don't always have to set out to do it. I accidentally wrote a musical piece, and I'm like, damn, I don't even know if I want to put that out there. It's really personal. And there wasn't a single word to it.
That's interesting. Yeah, you're right, though. It can just kind of happen, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It can. Yeah. Well, it's been so lovely to have you come in, Coraline. Thank you so much for being so candid and so forward and so descriptive with your words. It's really nice to see where you're at. You're clear. Sorry.
I was just saying happy to be here.
Yeah, my bad. It is because it's this community, and we thank everyone here who comes in with you and hangs in the chat each week. It's been really fun. It's been really fun to hang out with you each and every week. So we will be back. 2 weeks to go till FCC is on the show, I think. But next week we'll find out what's going on. Samuel, before we go, is there anything you want to say?
No.
Well, that's cool. As
long as you said the time.
Well, it's 7 p.m. UTC, which is 11 a.m. Pacific time.
There you go.
We'll be back. I do have to admit that we have to warn people that still to this day, we are 3-4 weeks in using Restream. I still have not uploaded the outro video, so there is going to be a hard cut incoming. Apologies, It's been really busy with the day job, but we will get there.
It's all right. I'm going to say so. It's 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 50 seconds right now. So in about 30 to 40 seconds, we're going to let's say 106, we're going to hard cut it. So that's what happened. So we're saying now, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week, but then we'll just keep rambling for another minute. And so you can get prepped for this hard cut. Because I know Thomas was like, that was abrupt. And then last time when I mentioned, it's going to be abrupt, he was like, yeah, that last one was abrupt. I'm like, we know. Thank you.
We get it.
Yeah, we're working on it. We got to get a little outro. And it's the way the latency. So even though we're at like saying what we're saying right now, you're hearing it like 30, 40 seconds later. So there's this delay. So when I hit end stream, it ends where that is, not where we are. So that's why it happens. So we still have 30 seconds. So anything you want to add? Chris, it says like button. Yes, definitely hit the like button. If you're on Apple and Spotify, leave us a rating, leave us a review. It helps a ton. Leave a comment after this video if you want to help show the algorithm to share it. I know we've gotten a lot of comments lately. We really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm actually going to keep this going for a little longer because I want that part to be heard before the hard cut. So, Curtis, anything you want to add?
I do promise that before we go away, there will be an outro video coming through. That is on me. I hold my hand up and say, I still not got around to that.
Nah, it's all right.
So
I don't have the know-how to do it, so
we'll get there. So yeah, I think that's enough waffling for now. I think that's enough prep. If you want to hit that button,
all right,
we'll get out of here.